So, welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews, where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes, and their challenges, and what's really driving them forwards. And this afternoon, I'm delighted to have with us Nigel Halliday, who's Managing Director at Ministry of Colours. So, firstly, Nigel, thank you for spending a bit of time with us. And if you'd like to introduce yourself, Ministry of Colours, what you do, how you help people, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity. It's good to talk. Ministry of Colours specialises in the provision of colour throwing powder, holy powder from India. That's not the main focus of the business. It is the main focus of the business, hasn't always been the focus of the business. The original business started doing a lot of, used to supply to small charities and hospices in particular and what have you. So fundraising supplies, buckets and tins and pin badges, cuddly
Yeah.
toys, that kind of stuff. And about 10 years ago, the hospices started to get into colour runs. So the owners at the time decided they were going to source that. So the old business, the other sister company we have, Care Fundraising Supply, still offers those products and still sells a reduced range, which I'll come on to shortly.
Yep.
Um, and there was a sort of brand brewing in the background, really, which was Ministry of Colours, which wasn't fully launched. I joined the old business pre-COVID, if you will, and then unfortunately COVID did its worst and meant that the old business had to stop because fundraisers just weren't fundraising. No one's out
Yep.
on the street and everything. The business just crashed. I
Yep.
wasn't actually employed by the business at the time, but I was contracting there. And when it folded, myself, one of the previous owners of the business, and another lady who was contracting there as well, we decided to buy it off the receivers and
Brilliant.
start again in COVID when no one was actually fundraising. So probably not the brightest idea at the time, but there you go. So now because of the problems that the old business had about buying your own stock and stuff and lead times to China and not selling it, we decided to focus on Ministry of Colours, which we thought had a lot more potential. It's also a lot less risky as well because you've got one product set effectively, which
Yep.
is the colour powder. We do accessories and things like that. But, if you don't sell it one year, you can sell it the next, and you're not left with thousands of cuddly toys left on your shelf or pin
Yep.
badges that you bought too many of and what have you. So that's what we did, and we've just grown the business steadily. We keep the Care Fundraising brand alive, and that still does as well. It helps us out in the quieter periods, such as now, because it's an outdoor pursuit, throwing colour powder. So, and now we chose to concentrate on schools, which is a nice niche of ours. People can buy anything from one small bag up to two pallets worth, you know what I mean? And
Wow.
we allow people to cut and choose. And so schools makes up a big chunk of our business. And we also sell to charities. So anyone who wants to put the fun into fundraising, as we call it, really, and
Brilliant.
raise a lot of money and have a good laugh at the time. Get everybody involved. That's what we do, and it's really growing in popularity year on year, and the kids and the adults love it alike. So yeah, that's the business in a nutshell.
Fabulous. What a great business. And we were talking before we started about how wonderful you find these amazing businesses do amazing things, and what a really interesting niche that you have. So if we look back a bit, growing up, Nigel, is this what the sort of thing you saw yourself doing, or did you have another path planned when you were younger?
Well, I probably not allowed to say this without getting shot down. When I graduated, which is a long time ago, I actually wanted to be a merchant banker. Can you believe?
Right.
And I mean, I got lots of interviews and first interviews, but it was when I graduated, it was all the aftermath of the 1988 crash, 1990 crash, Black Friday, not Black whatever, Black
Yes.
Monday. That was how old I am. And so there were very few jobs going. I was lucky enough to have done some summer work with Michelin Tires one a time, including a stint in France because I did a French degree. And they took me on as a graduate trainee, and I went to work for them. And then, but I'd always kind of wanted to get into sales, really, and so that wasn't really happening. They weren't employing any salespeople at the time, so I ended up just moving and worked in a small business trading ATMs. Can you believe? Used to buy them, refurbish them, and resell them, what have you.
Wow.
And I ended up in packaging and all sorts of things. So I sort of fell into it and just by dint of been headhunted a couple of times as well. I'd moved from one industry to another. I then used to sell transfers for, like names and numbers and swooshes for Nike and all that, whatever.
Yes.
I went to selling that work for business. I got us into Nike, which is the first ever, I managed to get that business into Nike, which transformed that business.
Amazing.
then I ended up in credit referencing, which is really weird, and then moved into the direct marketing area there, and then spent 20 years in direct marketing.
Right.
Um, so yeah, sort of fell into that because that's what you did back in the day, wasn't it? You come out of a good university with a good degree, you go on and do that. You never take time to think about it. It's just what
Yep.
you do. So, I got bored. I think one of my friends told me I was stuck in a fur-line rut, which is a very apt thing. You just
It-
get too comfortable, really, and you've too much to lose. But
yeah.
it all went a bit peaked on, really, about 5 years ago, but just pre-COVID as well. I had a lot of personal issues and stressful things that happening, divorces, bereavements, house moves, everything, you know what I mean? Sacking, redundancy. It was all just well, I won't say the word, but you know what I mean. Begins with S and ends in show. So, and I literally was in with HR at this company being fired when the owner of the business I now work for called me up just to see how I was. And he'd been saying I should probably go and work in a small business. He thought my skills would be good at it. And to be honest, I was too comfortable. I was getting too well paid what I was
Right.
doing and what have you. But I found myself as low as I could be. I'd gone from living in a very nice house with lots of money, married to someone else who had a good job, to earning nothing and living in a two-bedroom flat. And then COVID came, so I kind of didn't have anything else to do.
Right.
So I thought I'd give this a go. And I did. And I was earning no money because I fell through the gaps on the furlough scheme. I didn't qualify for any
Right.
furlough payment because I wasn't employed. I didn't qualify for any benefit because I'd only been self-employed for a couple of months. So it
Right.
was like pick yourself up off the floor and give this a go and see what happens. So that is how I ended up at Mini Shift Colours. Now it's probably a more unusual story than most. So did I ever think I'd be running my own business? I kind of wanted to many years ago. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't own the whole business. I don't have a controlling stake either in the business, but I still view it as my business. Yeah.
Yep.
And very much enjoy the freedoms, but no, life's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Really, all the freedoms you have running your own business, but the flip side is you're on the hook for everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
which includes.
I often say to people that the challenge of running your own business is the buck stops with us ultimately. The great thing is we get to choose exactly how it is. We can run our business however whatever way we choose. It's that we don't have to conform to other people. So it is, as you say, a double-edged sword. But yeah, the challenges hopefully don't outweigh the benefits. But sometimes there's ups and downs, and you obviously mentioned COVID as being one of the big challenges. But what other challenges have you had to face and overcome um, so far?
Like most businesses, cash flow.
Yeah.
Cash flow is what really, particularly being a seasonal business,
Yes.
and particularly because we have to buy container loads at a time and import them over from India. And then you have to pay a lot before it goes. We can sometimes be shelling out money for a container and we won't actually see that money for 6 months before we
Right.
actually sell it. So it's a cash flow is always an issue.
Yes.
COVID was an issue. The shipping crisis was an issue. I mean, just after we were getting some from the UK at one stage, but that got too expensive and the quality wasn't as good. So we decided to go back to India. Just after we did that, the Houthis started messing about in the Red Sea. So the cost went up again and what have you. And you keep thinking, come on, guys, give us a break out there. Then you have exchange rate fluctuations as
Yeah.
well. You know what I
Yes.
mean? That is a huge thing because at the time, not so long back, it was $1 to the pound. That's about
Yeah.
130. So that a huge issue. So
Yes.
and
Of course.
then otherwise, I've been relatively lucky, touch wood, on other major problems. It's just getting the stock and making sure you pay for it and then making sure people pay. But we don't have too much problem with bad debt because we're mainly online transactional. We deal a lot with the
Right.
third sector as well and public sector, and they might take a while to pay because of inefficiencies, but they do as a rule
Yes.
pay.
Yeah.
But yeah, cash flow definitely is the biggest thing I think when you're running a small business.
It's always there, isn't it? And
Yeah.
unfortunately, it doesn't really change as you grow. unless you're able to put quite a bit aside, it's still, as we grow, we're still, because we're expending just more amounts of money, we might be bringing them in as well. But in fact, it can obviously can get even more challenging. And,
It
and what we
can, and then
see,
there's a stress that goes with it. The first time you put your name to a PG for an overdraft
yeah,
is quite daunting, particularly when you're skinted after a divorce, so you've got any
yes,
money. It's a big thing, and that does weigh on you quite a lot sometimes. Yeah,
yes, absolutely. I think it's one of those things that a lot of people don't really realize that comes with business is how fundamentally at risk we can be
yeah,
um, from things. And often, as we've seen with COVID, with various other things, that some unforeseen, some foreseen, but some unforeseen, like COVID, was very much a shock for everyone, I think.
it's exactly that. I don't know if you know the lyrics to the Baz Luhrmann song, "Sun Cream."
No,
He
no,
says, don't worry about everything. And he said it'll be some idle thing on a Tuesday afternoon or whatever the quote is. You can plan for as many things, but it's always something never thought of will come and bite you in the
yeah,
bum. So
yeah,
all you can do is try and make yourself as resilient as possible to cope with
yeah.
whatever comes when it comes.
Yeah, I completely agree. And what would you say the biggest things you've learned about growing a business so far? Obviously, cash flow being king, I get that. But any other key learnings about growing a business?
No, I've been more marketing led and what have you. Because I've never done it before. So you learn a lot about yourself, what you're good at, what you're not good at.
Yep.
We learn that I'm too soft really sometimes, but I I kind of meet people halfway, and then if people don't meet me halfway, or I'll meet somebody more than halfway. So I do offer a lot of trust, but if that trust gets abused,
Yeah.
then that's it. But I tend to find that works for me as a while, from very well. I've had bosses who've just let me get on with it in the past
Yeah.
and give me a goal and do to it, and that's the way I treat my staff as well. I'm goal oriented rather than task oriented, and I find people respond very well to that. So it
Brilliant.
was good learning to find out that a lot of people were like me in that respect as well. That
Yeah.
empowerment really works when you're dealing
Yes.
with your staff. Not for everybody. Everybody's people. Some people just like to be told to sit at a desk and do things. Well,
Yeah.
we're not really in that business. We're not the largest business, and we have to have a lot of polyvalency and flexibility in the
Yes.
business as well because we're seasonal in particular.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, learnings. You probably couldn't think of some, but obviously not now. There's probably too many to mention.
No, I mean, every day's a few people say every day's a school day. There's always something new to learn, isn't there? Something will come, as you say, and a challenge we need to face. And I think you're aware we're a business coaching organisation. So I'm keen to know
Yeah.
who the best coaches you've worked with, whether that's business, sport, life in general. Who's had the biggest impact on you?
Ironically, I think going back early, teachers have been big influences on me. People have inspired me.
Yes.
Just particularly great teachers, like my old French teacher, I mean, I'm naturally good at languages, but he sort of inspired me anyway. I moved to a new school and hadn't spoken a word, and it was a nice school, and everyone else had been doing French, but I caught up really quickly, and he inspired me and what have you. I think people have inspired you. You've got to find something you enjoy doing in
Yeah.
life, and as a rule, you're better at that. And many moons ago, I wrote off to a few companies because I wanted to, go and work in management or what have you in a big company. And a few of them actually wrote back and they said somebody summed it up perfectly, saying we've got people here with degrees ranging from archaeology to zoology. Just go and do a degree that you enjoy doing, and that's what you'll be better at. And
Yeah.
my old man always used to say when he was alive, he said, if you can find someone to pay you to do something you enjoy doing, then you've cracked it in life, haven't you?
Yes. Absolutely.
And that's
Absolutely.
it, really. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's so important to find your own personal niche, isn't it? The things that we really enjoy, because life's too short. And we spend a lot of time at work or in business.
We
If we're not
do, we do.
enjoying it, why the hell?
What,
Why the hell would we
what
want
I've tended to find though is that working in big business, I've had some pretty crap bosses. But in turn, in fairness to them, they've had some crap bosses themselves. And you
to?
realize that a big pile of dung comes down from the sky, and a good boss will get their umbrella out for you, but there's still just dung coming all the way from the
Yeah.
top. That's business, and then if you learn to put yourself in your boss's shoes, you can at least understand why they're making the decisions they're making, whether you agree with it or not.
Yes.
But I think a lot of the time, particularly in a large business, is they don't tell you. why they do it, and they lie to you. And as salespeople, you're not normally daft. You're at the bottom of the food chain from the hierarchy, but you're generally quite well paid, and you
Yeah,
know you're generally bright enough to work out when people are lying to you. So I like to tell my staff as much as I can
yeah,
about why I'm doing something and why not, and just so they feel part of the business, they're on the
right.
journey there. And that helps, you might not agree with a decision, but if you find out a little bit more about why that decision was made, then that kind of
Yeah, absolutely. I think
helps understand.
yeah,
Yeah,
you get more ownership, don't you? When you share plans, share goals, you get people taking ownership in many ways a lot more than if, as you said earlier, if you're just told what to do, well, then I'm just doing what you say, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
have no ownership whatsoever.
Well, that's fine for some people. But yeah, no, I tend to have found little nuggets from coaches over the year, a few things here and bits and pieces that you pick up
Brilliant.
on the way kind of stuff. So I've been fortunate in that way as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. And do you have any favorite quotes or sayings of about business or success or life in general?
Yeah, well, years ago, many years ago, and it stuck me for ages. This, these fold-up calendars that you used to get with a motto on every day and what have you,
Yes.
and you put it off. So one was, "Minds are like parachutes; they only function when open." And I've
Brilliant.
always tried to keep that one.
Like that.
My favourite, slightly one, you might have to edit this out. It's not sexist, but it's funny. It's "Hell hath no music like a woman playing second fiddle." So get told after that one. But no, my ultimate favourite is, and this is the last one, I promise. It's "Only the mediocre are always at their best."
Oh, that's an interesting one. Not
It is, isn't it?
not heard that before.
Um, Yeah, because you can be good and what have you, and you're never always going to be at your best anyway, kind of stuff. And you try, and sometimes you'll fail
Yes.
and what have you. But mediocre people don't try. You know what I mean? So it's only the
Yeah.
people that try and. I mean, you could extrapolate that quote to have a hour-long discussion on that, which is clearly not the forum. But yeah, that's probably my favorite. That is definitely my favorite of all time. Yeah.
That's interesting. I've not heard that or anything particularly like it. So thank you for that one. I'll keep that one on board. And have you got any favorite or significant books, whether they're business books, books on success or personal development that you reference or that you've have found really valuable over time?
You know what? I must have tried about. Well, I mean, I'm 55, right? I've probably read about the first two chapters of about three of those books. And I just get bored with them. I don't know what it is. It's not like I don't know it. I think they kind of just say the same old thing over and over again. So this might be a bit controversial. What I personally have found them not very good. And I try and sometimes get a digest of them if possible. If you can just get a digest,
Yeah,
they're great. There is a good book which is called Solution Selling, which is excellent because I've done some art sales training, and it's the best sales training thing I've ever been on. I've
yes,
been on it twice with different companies. In fact, I went to a company and helped my boss's boss bring the guy over from America to do it. Especially, we paid a bit extra to fly him over to deliver that solution selling course. That
brilliant,
is a fantastic book. I'd recommend that book to anybody that wants to get into sales and business development
brilliant.
because you can literally sum that up quite quickly. So yeah, solution selling is brilliant. Yeah,
Nice one. Yes, I'm trying to think of the author at the moment, but it is a great book, isn't it?
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and speaking of learning, what would you say you've learned about yourself so far, Nigel?
Oh, I'm too soft. Don't like conflict as much as possible. Um, um, yeah, I've learned. I mean, I am. The French have a wonderful saying, "Capable du meilleur du pire," which is capable of the best and the worst kind of stuff. So I do know that
Right.
when I'm good, I'm very good, but when I'm bad, I'm pretty awful. You know what I mean, kind of stuff. So, but that kind of ties in with only the media owners at their best, I suppose.
Brilliant.
Yeah, yeah. You have to in life though find out. Don't try and minimize your weaknesses. Get someone else to do what you're
Yeah,
not good at. Concentrate on your strengths. We
completely
just
agree.
had a conversation recently with one of the owners and shareholders, and we say, well, is there any way we can get more turnover in December? I said, well, not really. I said, we can try. I said, but I'd rather put a lot of effort in to increase my June sales, which are massive by 20%, than putting the same amount of effort in and increasing my December sales by 20% because you get a lot more bang for your buck by
Brilliant.
concentrating on what you do more.
Brilliant.
And I think too many people, particularly in small businesses, like to keep control of everything and they're afraid to delegate. But you have to delegate sometimes and find someone that's better than you at something and
Yes.
admit to yourself what you're good at and what you're not good at.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'll totally agree with that in general from
Yeah.
my personal experiences. So looking forward, what does the future look like for you guys, and what challenges do you think you might face, if any?
Excuse me. Well, going back to the previous, you don't know, do you? The
Yeah,
major threats to us are currency fluctuations. So that's another job I have to do. I have to go on and hedge and make forward trades as well in dollars and what have you, because we're buying dollars
yeah,
from India. Yeah, basically, oh, sorry, I've got the future challenges, ones, it's a
yeah,
potential future threat. Well, competitors, new entrants into the market is a
right,
potential threat. I view that as an opportunity because anyone that spreads the words about how much fun you can have with a colorized party is great because come on to find us, is searching with them. It's a great website.
brilliant.
And it's not a cliche really, is it? You know, when the tide comes in, everybody's boat floats kind of stuff. So
Yep,
you can sort of embrace competition that way, just
yep,
get more people doing it. Yeah. Yeah,
brilliant.
I think they're fairly standard threats for everybody and what have
Yeah,
you. But yeah, you know, shipping. Put
yes,
it though, we did have some problem with shipping and it caused us huge delays. So, but we had to make ourselves more robust by holding more stock. But of course, that then ties up more capital. So, but it's the best way of doing it. You know what I mean? I'd rather spend more money on working capital to have stock in my warehouse than be caught
yep.
out at peak season. Yeah, yeah.
That makes absolute sense. I'm keen to know what you say to anyone that's thinking of going to business right now.
Do it. The rewards are very good, potentially. Get everything in writing. Seriously, get everything in writing from the beginning and be careful who you trust because there's a lot of sharks out there. There's a lot of very good business people, but there's a lot of very bad people. And there's also lots of fraudsters and everything out there. So read everything twice and get everything in writing, basically.
Brilliant. And if you started again, is there anything significant that you do differently, do you think?
I would take more risks. I would say to my younger self, do it before you get too comfortable. You know what I mean? I was lucky. I had a good degree from a good university, got into a well-paid job very quickly, and then from there on, you've suddenly got a lot to lose. And if you
Yes.
look at some of the biggest, most successful people in life, like Branson, for example, they've been on their uppers and kind of nothing to lose, kind of thing. And that's probably how I found myself at Ministry Colours. I had nothing to lose at the time and no other options, you know. But yeah, it is difficult. The older you get, you start to get the mortgage and all these kind of things, and the salary. You've got a lot more to lose, haven't you? So,
Yeah.
particularly for younger people, just do it when you still can, when you've not got any
Yeah.
ties, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. And any other advice for an 18-year-old you, if you went back in time and do so, what would
Well,
be
that would be it. Sorry, that's the kind of bit I
alongside
said
taking more
for the
risks?
younger self. Yeah, but no, for business now, it's just there are so many good systems in there and audit trails and everything. Just keep a track of what's been said by who. Like I said, get it in writing really, and then you can't go wrong.
Brilliant.
And yeah, just give it a crack. Why not?
Brilliant, brilliant. Nigel, it's been fascinating talking to you, and I obviously wish you well for the future. Obviously, I
Thank
can
you.
see that with the business as you have, there are those challenges inherent to it. But for anyone that's watching that would like to get in touch with you or Ministry of Colours, what would be the best way of doing that?
Oh, they can use my personal email if they'd like, which is nigel@ministryofcolours.com.
Brilliant, brilliant.
So,
Well, look,
and that's
sorry, go on.
Oh no, that's the English way of spelling it as well. Though. Obviously, with the human colours, yeah.
Brilliant. Of course, yes, of course, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or find me on LinkedIn as well if you want to get to me and hook up that way. It's always good to chat. And well, the other thing I would say as well is running a small business is hard, particularly
Yeah,
when you're down and on antidepressants, as I was 5 years ago as well, 4 years ago. And it's just nice to be able to share an issue with
yeah,
someone else or know that someone else is having the same problems as you know,
yes,
because it's blooming tough and don't beat yourself up about it. As long as you keep coming through, that's the main thing. But more than happy to talk to people like that because I think mental health for business owners might be a bit underlooked, particularly in the corporate sector. They talk about, yeah, okay, well, we look after you, but that stigma is still there. And I
yes,
think we do really need to get together and talk about ourselves as much as we talk about our businesses, really. I think that's vitally important, and we don't do enough. I encourage it with my staff, and they know that you know what I mean, that I've been down in the past and what have
Yeah,
you, and other people have, it's amazing when you ask someone, you say, or you sell yourself, say, oh, I've been on antidepressants for this, or I had them in the past. It's amazing how much of it's out there. So yeah, I think that's a big thing for small business owners. Yeah.
brilliant. Couldn't agree more. Echo everything you've said there, and thank you so much. It'd be great to swing by another 6, 12 months just to see what the next stages are. But for now, thank you so much for your time.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.